Ing 24, our locksmith van back alley promise on the work order. The locksmith's van idled behind the row houses like a patient confession. Inside, the LED strips turned steel into daylight and tools into vocabulary. Everything had a slot and the habit of returning to it. I signed the carbon copy work order with the kind of pen that makes you briefly honest and slid my phone face down into my left pocket, the pocket I use for things that are supposed to make it home. The alley smelled like damp cardboard and last chances. Somewhere, a late TV tried to convince a kitchen it was morning. Back home, Avery had said, "Can we talk tomorrow?" in the voice that means please stay now. Our couch has a degree in jurisprudence. Give it 30 minutes and it swears you in. I left before either of us tried to perform decency in bad lighting. Halfway down the stairs, my screen lit with a message from T. Tomas in my contacts, T in the way I label hazards to make them smaller. Vans on Harrow. Just talk. Roofs forgive nobody in daylight. Vans pretend they will. By day, I fix other people's paragraphs. By night, I try not to turn my own into weapons. Avery and I keep a code that works when we remember it. T. Means come here, you awake. Means I'm scared. Tomorrow means not yet, but don't go far. Tomas re-entered orbit 2 months ago wearing a work shirt unbuttoned one too many and a laugh that sounded like a glass agreeing to be set down gently. He didn't ask for anything. That was how I started bringing him everything. He stood in the open side door with a blank key in one hand and a tension wrench between his teeth like a spare syllable. He removed it, wiped his mouth with the back of his wrist, and smiled without showing teeth. The variety of restraint I hate him most for. "You came," he said, as if the alley needed proof. "I came to return something," I said. "My spare, your good sense." "Your name," I said. "It's been on my mouth too long for its own health." He nodded toward the workbench where a vice held a keyway like a polite hostage. "3 words," he said, tapping the top sheet of the work order with the pen I'd used. "Why are you here?" "3 words is cruel," I said. "That's why they work." He slid the form toward me and set the pen beside it with a mechanic's precision. "No speeches in the van. Pins jam." I wrote proud at breakfast. Beneath it, smaller like a fuse I wasn't sure I'd dare to light, touch before arguing. He read the ink the way men read a lock, listening more than looking. He didn't touch me. His hand hovered a breath from my lapel, as if straightening it would count as permission, and fell away like we were already being graded. "Does he know?" Tomas asked. He didn't need to weaponize the pronoun. "He knows the apartment is quiet," I said. He clamped the blank into the duplicator and traced the original with the stylus like a delicate theft. Metal dust fell onto the magnetic tray in polite glitter. The cutter sang. "Keys are agreements," he said. "Locks are arguments. I prefer agreements." "I've been arguing with my own door," I said. "Then let me finish," he said, and flicked the burrs off the edge with a practiced mercy. He tested the copy in a practice cylinder bolted to the bench, tension, set, click, and smiled like a man who believes in mornings he doesn't deserve yet. He stepped into my weather, heat arriving before hands do when men are trying to be better than the reason they're here. "Tell me no," he said, and made it sound like a way to be decent without being boring. I didn't. I met him in the inch that rewrites evenings. His mouth tasted like mint and the part of courage that keeps receipts. When his hand found the back of my neck, his grip remembered humane limits. My body answered like a courtroom that wants a witness anyway. He made the sound men make when a small country surrenders and calls it diplomacy. I made the one I've stopped apologizing for when it belongs to him. We didn't rush. Vans prefer accurate torque. His mouth found the hinge of my jaw. Mine found the place behind his ear where regret loses vocabulary. His palm slid under my shirt and rested flat a second. "Do you swear?" And then moved with attention rather than appetite. He guided my hand down with the steadiness of someone who respects tools. I closed my fingers and he exhaled into my mouth a truth nobody paid to hear. He reached for me and I let him. We stayed quiet because sheet metal prefers pros. Light trembled on socket heads. The neighborhood pretended to sleep. "We already cheated," he said later, while breath translated itself back into sentences. "We cheated when we started telling each other the truth before we told it at home." "I know," I said, and the lock in my chest gave up a pin. He slid the work order into my left pocket with ceremonial slowness. His thumb traced my wrist once and chose not to stay. He stepped back the moral inch that passes inspection. "I booked a room," he said, not triumphant. "Weather report, not prophecy. Refundable. We could stand at a window and not touch for 60 seconds just to prove we remember ceremony. We could keep the do not disturb honest." "I'm tired of being clever," I said. "Clever, a locksmith's reflex," he said. "Accurate is a tenant's duty." He oiled the copy key and slipped it into a small envelope, wrote a number on the flap, and set it on the bench like a favor he hoped I'd deserve next week. "Text me a weather report in the morning," he said. "Tell me if the kettle beat the reasons." "It usually does," I said, "when we let it." He handed me the novelty magnet he'd been using to pick up filings, a freebie shaped like a key head, and pressed it into my palm. "For your fridge," he said. "Cold helps letters behave." He closed the van door halfway and leaned there, the kind of posture a man adopts when he's decided to refuse heroics. I stepped out into the alley, which obliged by being no better and no worse than the story we were telling. We didn't touch shoulders on the way past. We were both trying for accurate instead of noble. The crosswalk on Harrow gave me time. I took it. The kitchen light made it square on the tile. The fridge hummed the way machines hum when they've decided to believe you. Avery sat on the floor with his back against the door, sleeves pushed to his elbows, one ankle crossed over the other, the posture manuals use when they draw people who are about to fix things. He didn't ask where I'd been. He turned his head toward the place beside him. I sat. "Do you want to be asked?" he said, voice steady, not performing mercy, offering it. "Please," I said, because prompts are the scaffolding of my better self. "Are you lonely?" "Some nights," I said. "Not here. Not when you ask first. Not when the kettle outruns the reasons." I took his wrist and put his hand on my forearm the way he does when he needs to make sure I'm not inventing weather. His thumb traced once and believed me. "I feel useful," he said. "I want to be wanted before I'm useful." "Tonight's procedure," I said. "Touch first, argue second, report later." The kettle clicked like a stamp in a country that still believes in mail. He stood and poured water over mint. We named it dinner because names are cheaper than regret. I pinned the work order beneath the key magnet so Proud at Breakfast faced the room. Avery read the ink in his mouth, did the smaller, braver thing. He took the dry erase marker from the cup by the fridge and wrote beneath the magnet, "Tomorrow, keep the torque." He didn't grin. He nodded like a man assembling a morning from honest screws. We made a rule that isn't noble. When prosecution tries to wear a bathrobe, one of us says locksmith and the other puts the kettle on while the first puts his hands where history can find them. We agree to 5 words when 5 are enough. We stop at the shoulder, not the ditch. We try to want what we promised, and when we don't, we write 3 words on small paper and tell the room we'll fail differently tomorrow. Days do what days do when you're trying to be an amateur human with professional consistency. The work order in my pocket learns the shape of my left hand. Paper learns its carriers. On the late bus, I draft messages to no one that begin, "I didn't ask," because I thought that counted as kindness and in may your breakfast go right. I don't send them. The not sending feels like a skill borrowed from pins that set more easily when you stop forcing them. A week later, afternoon tries to be a test. I walk past the van and buy nothing. I leave a bottle of water on the bumper with a note, for whoever is waiting for a sister. The neighborhood nods like a bridge that is held and will hold again. On my way home, I slip a blank work tag into my pocket and write "turn" toward your name across the clean side. I don't light anything. That night we eat toast like it has been newly invented. We fail, and fail differently, and fail in ways that don't require anyone to stand in an alley pretending to know which door will save them. The room does not demand a verdict. The morning remembers its job. And when we say tomorrow out loud, it means only what we let it mean.